I'd like to call the September 17th, 2025 board meeting to order. I'll ask that each commissioner please respond with a "here" when I call out their name. Commissioner Doan,
Here. Oh. Here.
Commissioner Duggan,
Here.
Commissioner Fisher, Commissioner Sanders. All right, the first item of business is a public hearing. Consider adopting Resolution 2125, a resolution establishing water rates and other charges for the Tualatin Valley Water District with an effective date of November 1st, 2025. No action will be taken on this item at this meeting. First, we will hear a staff presentation, and then I will open the public hearing. Anyone who wishes to offer testimony in support or opposition to this item will be given 5 minutes unless an extension is granted by the board. If your testimony contains questions, you will be contacted by staff or receive a response in writing that addresses your questions after the meeting. In most cases, the board will not interact with you during the meeting. We are collecting information. To maintain a welcoming and harassment-free environment for everyone, the board may exclude individuals who disrupt the meeting. Following public testimony, I will close the hearing and we will hear any additional comments from the staff or the board. The board will take action at the October 15th board meeting after consideration of the testimony received this evening, along with the email, letters, and comment forms received throughout the rate proposal process. May we have the staff presentation, please, Justin?
Thank you, Commissioner Lysak, and good evening, Commissioner and members of the public. Tonight, I'm presenting the staff report on the proposed increases for the 25-27 biennium. Those increases are 3% respectively for each of the years, so effective November 1st, 2025 and 2026. That equates to roughly about $3 per month for a typical residential customer using 7 units of water per month. And that does include a 3% increase to both the fixed and volume rates for the district's all customer classes. To summarize the public outreach efforts that we've engaged in as per the adopted resolution by the board, in addition to the notice that was sent out, which is a statutory requirement, we held a series of open house workshops for members of the public to engage with staff and ask questions. The first of those workshops was a virtual open house that we held on Tuesday, September 9th at noon. We held a second virtual open house online on Wednesday, September 10th at 6 p.m. And then lastly, we held an in-house open house here at the district on Saturday, the 13th at 9 a.m. Tonight, we're at the regular board meeting where we're holding the public hearing, and the board will have the opportunity to receive public comment. The next steps will be the closing of the public comment period, which will happen on September 24th at 4 p.m. And then the regular meeting on October 15th, where the adoption under consideration by the board will be heard, along with a summary of the public comment provided in the board packet. Provide some information about what the rate increases and what are, in general, our water bill support is. In the last fiscal year, the district has maintained 765 miles of pipe, as well as 5,481 fire hydrants to ensure that water is available for emergencies and fire suppression. We've collected over 6,000 water quality samples to ensure that our customers' water is safe to drink. Of that water, 8.1 billion gallons was delivered in the last fiscal year. And then last but not least, the district invested $26.5 million of capital on infrastructure here within the district, and an additional approximately $166 million in the Willamette water supply system, which is the district's future water supply source, expected to be online here next year. As part of the 25-27 biennium budget, the way that the rates are supporting the district are 36.5% are focused on investments in infrastructure. 13.5% is focused on purchased water. So that is water that we purchase through the Joint Water Commission, which we have an ownership stake in, as well as water that we're currently purchasing from the city of Portland on a wholesale arrangement. But that will transition to water purchases through our partnership in the Willamette Water Supply starting in the latter part of this next biennium, excuse me, our current biennium. 42.3% goes to supporting operations and maintenance of the system. And then lastly, 7.7% is for repayment of long-term debt. The district does take its financial responsibilities very seriously, and some examples of that are in the last biennium, we've managed our operating budgets at $13.1 million below the budgeted amount. Additionally, we have deferred some capital projects to balance our resources and cash flow with the needs of the higher priority needs of the district. So for example, on the Willamette Water Supply Program, we did have some cost increases that were associated with the treatment plant when that was bid in 2020 and 2021. And so to balance that out, we looked at deferring certain elements that weren't critical for the system to come online initially in 2026. So we deferred one of the tanks that we were going to build. So initially the plan was to build two 15 million gallon tanks. We currently only built one. And then we've also deferred a section of pipeline in the northwest section of the district. So we've looked to balance the available resources and focus on the priorities. We've also looked to gain economies of scale by partnering with other utilities and local governments. So as one example, we do provide joint billing services with Clean Water Services, the sewer agency. So we have an overlapping customer base. They're a separate entity, separate agency. They set their own rates, have their own governing board, but we do share the billing process. So they actually are a co-owner of the actual billing system itself. And then we also share the costs associated with producing and sending out those bills. We also partner with other local governments on construction projects. So with opportunities working on the roads within Washington County, where we have pipelines that might overlay with the road projects, we coordinate. So that actually shares some of the cost burden, but also reduces the construction impacts to the community. One of the more significant examples is our partnerships in water sources. So as I mentioned, we do have a partnership in the Joint Water Commission with the cities of Beaverton, cities of Hillsborough, and cities of Forest Grove. But our Willamette Water Supply Project that we're currently embarking on with the cities of Hillsborough and Beaverton is a significant project with regional benefits, and we're able to leverage those benefits more economically by sharing in the costs of not only constructing the system, but also operating it going forward. And then lastly, we do look for other opportunities for resources other than just rate revenues. So in the last biennium, we did generate $29.4 million in interest earnings by adjusting our WIFIA draw schedule. So our WIFIA loan is a loan that we have through the EPA, and we were able to look at the interest rate environment and take advantage of the low interest rate loan that we had through the WIFIA, draw some of those revenues earlier on than what we had anticipated, and then invest those proceeds. Because there was no tax-exempt arbitrage rule, we were actually able to generate that earnings and use that for our capital reserves and an investment in the Willamette. We've also pursued local federal and state grant opportunities. In the last biennium, we did generate approximately $22 million in federal and state grants. I want to take a little opportunity to look back in time and sort of what's been driving rates. So for those of you that have been participating in the process over the years, you've heard us talk a lot about the investment in the Willamette. So what we're looking at is the district's capital improvement plan graphically. And this is from a few years ago where we referred to it as our baseline 7 associated with our Willamette Water Supply Program costs. We can see a significant cost. We refer to it as the spending peak, or a big mountain that we were facing heading into the 23-25 biennium, roughly over $300 million in total. And so we were needed to get our rates into a position where we had the capacity to actually borrow the money to finish our financing on the Willamette. So while we have been increasing rates steadily over the last several years to support the Willamette, that generated about $300 million in capital that we invested into our Willamette. Our total Willamette investment is about $900 million. So we needed to finance the additional $600 million using long-term debt. We have completed that long-term debt issuance, and so we are done with our financing the Willamette. But I do equate it to similar to taking out a mortgage. So part of the rate increases were to demonstrate that we had the financial capacity to actually repay that long-term debt, as well as generate some capital to invest in Willamette. Now that we're transitioning out of the capital investment cycle, we'll transition from investing in the infrastructure to actually repaying the long-term debt service. But we can see where we are today. So we are on the downhill slide. We still have a pretty significant capital investment over the next 2 years, but it does level off looking out into the future. The district's financial management process uses a four-phase process, which starts off with the financial plan and the financial strategy. And so what that does is provide us guidance on our long-term needs to balance our resources with our investments in infrastructure and continue to operate and maintain the district and provide quality water and service to our customers. From that, we develop a two-year budget. The budget process involves a budget committee that consists of five volunteer members, as well as our five Board of Commissioners who are elected by our customers and serve on a voluntary basis. Once the budget committee approves the budget, it is then adopted by the board and then executed on by staff. That next stage where we're at tonight is our rate setting process. So we do look at rates over the long term. So we do align a rate projection with our financial plan, but rates are adopted on a biennial basis to align with our budget cycle. And that was something that was actually recommended by our rate advisory committee in 2022. And then finally, the next phase is to actually deliver on what was planned in the budget and supported by the rates that align with the budget and the financial plan. So to actually execute on the process of investing in the infrastructure, completing the projects, and continuing to deliver water and customer service. Looking at our annual expenditure forecast out of the financial plan. So this is the financial plan that's published on the district's website. And so I'm going to focus initially on this first two-year window here, which is our current biennium. So we can see that starting with our O&M costs, we're anticipating a decrease as we transition from our current fiscal year into FY27. And what's happening there is as we begin to start the operational pieces of the Willamette supply system, we aren't purchasing water from yet, but there are some operational costs associated with it, things like utilities and insurance. And so we're expecting a little bit of peak in the O&M costs, which will then transition actually to our purchase water costs once we begin actually purchasing water from the Willamette Commission. You can also see that our capital outlay, which is the investments in the infrastructure, is anticipated to decrease and then level off over time. We do have some anticipated building reserves early in the years, which will help offset rates in the outer years and continue to do the investments in the capital outlay in the out years of the forecast. And then lastly, the debt service you can see is budgeted at $8.2 million per year over the current biennium. That is anticipated to increase over time in the second biennium and then reach a point where we'll continue to have our full debt service payments until the debt is fully retired in 2061. We intentionally sculpted the debt repayment so that some of the costs were deferred initially, some of it was interest only, so that we would not be having to do substantial debt repayments as well as the capital payments over the same period of time. Focusing now on the proposed rate adjustment, as I mentioned, it is 3% for each year of the biennium. This, once again, comes out of our financial plan. You can see a comparison to where we were 2 years ago, where we were anticipating 3.25% annual increases in the forecast, and we're now looking at a 3% increase. And so we are continuing to look at our costs and look at ways that we can manage our budget effectively to try and drive that down further in the future. In terms of the specific elements of the rate increase, we will see, I mentioned the rate increase applies to both the fixed charges as well as the volume charges. So for a typical residential customer that has a 5/8 by 3/4 inch meter, the current monthly fixed charge is $30.47, and that will increase to $31.38 effective November 1st, 2025, and $32.32 in November of 2026. I will note that our residential customers do receive their bills on a bi-monthly basis, but for comparative purposes for the presentation this evening, we are showing that information on a monthly basis. On the volume rates, we're not proposing any changes to the actual block structure, but our block rates are being proposed to increase 3% as well. So the current block 1 rate, which is for a residential customer, that's anything that's 14 units or 28 units on a bi-monthly basis and below, is currently $10.08, and that would increase to $10.38, and then $10.69 in November of 2026. And you can see the block 2 information there as well. For the customer impact, at the beginning of the presentation, I did mention that a typical customer using 7 units of water per month, the increase is roughly about $3 per month. The 7 CCF number comes from our billing system. So we look at the data, and that's the bill that we do produce, more common than any other bill. Obviously, actual usage fluctuates month to month, but that is the most common bill that we issue. How it would impact customers who are on our customer assistance program, which I'll talk more about here in a minute. Those customers do receive a 20% discount off the water portion of their bill. And so the impact to them would be approximately $2.40 per month in this November 2025 increase, and then about $2.50 in November of 2026. Looking at another residential customer example who has above average usage, we see that the impact for our normal customer would be $4.51 and $4.66 in 25 and 26 respectively. And then for our customer assistance program customer, it would be $3.60 and $3.73 for a customer using 24 units on a bi-monthly billing cycle. As I mentioned, the rate increase does apply to all customer classes. So for customers who are larger commercial industrial users, they tend to have larger meter sizes. And so we are seeing the same 3% applied to the larger meter size for the fixed monthly charges. And how that might impact a customer who's a large industrial customer using about 28,500 units per month. We see their total bill going from about 287,000 to 295,000. So an increase of $8,500 per month, and then about 305,000 the following year, so an increase of 8,831 per month. As I mentioned, I was going to provide some information about our customer assistance programs that are available. The first program that I'd like to discuss is what we call just our customer assistance program, or CAP. This program was implemented in November of 2024, and eligible customers can receive a 20% discount on the drinking water portion for both the fixed charges as well as the usage charges portion of their water bill. The program eligibility is modeled after similar assistance programs like the LIHEAP program. So to be eligible, customer has to be obviously a current TVWD customer, be a single family residential customer who receives a TVWD bill directly, and have an income that is 60% or below the median household income, or enrolled in another eligible assistance program like SNAP or WIC. The duration of the program, once you're enrolled, lasts 24 months. And then you'll receive a notification 60 days prior to expiration and would be eligible to reapply. And then if you do relocate within the district, you have to also reapply through our partnership with Community Action of Washington County, who helps us administer this program and does the verification process. The second program we have available, which has been in place a bit longer, is our what we call our Customer Emergency Assistance Program. This is designed to help customers who have a billing arrearage and have a specific incident that they're looking to get through an incident that may have a stated emergency. So customers can receive up to a 28-unit billing and fixed charge credit on their bill, which based on the November 25 rates, that would be $354. But they also must be on a payment plan for the remaining balances that if those were not relieved with the full credit through the assistance program. Eligibility is similar to our regular customer assistance program. However, this is a one-time every 12-month period assistance, and the customer needs to have a stated emergency. In addition to our water rates, the district also has other fees and charges that, using its cost of service principles, does adjust through this process. Most of the adjustments were minor inflationary adjustments. However, I will draw your attention to a couple areas where we did make some more significant changes. So our bulk water fees, we've actually transitioned how we calculate those a few years ago. And so now they actually include the cost of water. So we gained some efficiencies there by actually bundling it into one package as opposed to trying to monitor and report on it. And so now we include the cost of water in the permit application, and the increases are basically adjusting for that change in methodology as well as the change in the cost of water. Additionally, our plan review and inspection fees are proposed to change. So once again, this is based on our cost of service recovery principles. And so in looking at the level of effort involved in terms of staff time to do plan reviews, we're not seeing kind of the same level of development that we did many, many years ago, where it's kind of easy to come in and put all your utilities in before other utilities. And so we're seeing much more dense reviews, more time involved in the review process, as well as the adjustments for our actual labor costs. So the proposed changes you can see there are accounting for those changes in the process, as well as the time and the cost. So the next steps in the process, as was mentioned in the introduction, is the public comment period will remain open until 4 p.m. on September 24th. Customers interested in submitting public comment are encouraged to do so through our online form, which is available at tvwd.org/rates. They could also mail in written comment to TVWD. Our address is available on the website. And then finally, the board will consider the resolution at the October 15th regular meeting. And if the resolution passes, the rate changes will be implemented and effective on November 1st, 2025. With that, I'm happy to take any questions from the board. I will turn it back to the board for public hearing.
All right, thank you very much, Justin. I am opening the public hearing for the Tualatin Valley Water District Board to consider water rates and other charges pursuant to the provision of Oregon Revised Statute 264.312. The notice of this public hearing and its purpose was mailed to district customers. As a reminder, each person wishing to address the board is limited to 5 minutes. If you are attending virtually, please use the raise hand feature. The district recorder will call your name to indicate you can speak, and you can then unmute your microphone. You can start by stating your name for the record. You do not need to state your address.
So we'll start with any public testimony in the room. Is there anybody that wishes to comment in the audience? Okay, the gentleman in the first row, you can head up to the table right there. Yes, sir. Yeah, if you could please have a seat and press the button on the microphone, and you have 5 minutes.
Is that better?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. My name is Thomas Sawyer. I know my mother had a good sense of humor. Anyway, what I want to talk to you about is our bill, this last bill that we paid for water, sewer, everything else. We're two people. We take a shower once a day. We run a dishwasher maybe every 2-3 days. We checked our toilets for leaks, no leaks. We had you come out, check the meter, supposedly no leaks. We paid $366.83. 2 months before that, we paid $324. We can't afford that. We're on a fixed income. We tried to go with your help to the customers that we can fill out the form. We made $40 too much. I don't know what to do. We have a choice of either paying a water bill or buying groceries. We have the choice of paying the water bill or buying our prescriptions. We just can't do this anymore. I mean, if the prices keep going up and up and up, I don't know what we're going to do. So I guess that's my comment. I'd like you guys to put in a no water meter for me. I don't believe it's not working properly. Can I get a new water meter? Oh.
Certainly. Anybody else wish to submit public testimony? Yes, sir. Please step up to the table. And if you could have a seat, it would be helpful.
I get a reset on the clock.
Yeah, you don't need to do anything except for speak into the mic. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Rob Heisner. I've been a ratepayer in the district for the past 25 plus years. And I'd like to echo some of the things that Thomas said. I've been, as a ratepayer for so long, I've watched my rates go up significantly to the point that I'm here today, kind of questioning what is going on. Something seems fundamentally wrong to me. And I understand there's infrastructure projects that are underway that are important, but I question the whole financial picture of those. Given the fact that, if you take a big picture look at the US, which state pays the most for their water, their public water supply? Does anybody know?
Sir, if you could speak into the microphone a little bit more, it would be very helpful for us. Thank you.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
That's a
Better.
little better. Thank you.
Does anybody know? Well, I did my research and the answer actually isn't Oregon. It's West Virginia, but West Virginia has specific problems related to the decline of the coal industry that's driving infrastructure projects there to catch up with the rest of the US. They really stick out like a sore thumb on the East Coast. But number 2 on that list is Oregon, and ahead of California, ahead of Washington, ahead of Alaska. So Oregon on its own is really paying high rates for public drinking water. Now, if we take a close look at then that's not the problem of the Tualatin Valley Water District, but you're a part of that. So if I take a closer look at what's going on in Oregon, what do I find? Who's paying the most for water within the state of Oregon, which is already number 2 on the US level? Does anybody know? I couldn't find anyone paying higher rates than what we're paying in the Tualatin Valley Water District. And, to even dice it even more finely, this project that we're talking about, the Willamette water supply system, that's a $1 billion project that's been paid for by the ratepayers to a large extent. And there's financing that has to, continue to derive money from the public. That's supplying water to the Tualatin Valley Water District, but it's also supplying to the Beaverton Water District and the Hillsborough Water District. So one of my questions for you is why do the Tualatin Valley ratepayers pay, compared to Beaverton, we're paying over 50% more for our water. Compared to Hillsborough, we're paying well over 2 times what they're paying. And this project is going towards them as well. There's a huge discrepancy in what the ratepayers in the Tualatin Valley Water District are paying compared to our peers close by, taking water from the same supplies, whether it's the Tualatin River, whether it's the Willamette, whether it's the Columbia. We're all pulling from the same sources. So it's a fundamental question, and I'm looking for fundamental answers. I haven't been digging too deeply into it. The research that I've done is really the research that I did today when I found out about this meeting, and I was compelled to come and talk about these items because they're important for me, and I believe, for the rest of the public that are either here today or online listening to this. So if you can give any feedback on these items, I'd appreciate it. Or after this meeting, I'd like to hear more why there's such an imbalance in what Tualatin Valley Water District ratepayers are paying compared to our peers in the state of Oregon and across the USA. That's really all I have to say. Any questions for me? If not, thanks for your time. I appreciate the opportunity for this forum to speak to the commissioners and the Water District staff. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to comment? Not seeing anybody in the room, we'll go to the virtual meeting. Oh, I'm sorry, sir, I didn't see you. Okay, well, if you would please step up to the table, have a seat, and please make sure to speak into the microphone. Thank you.
How's that? Gotta push a button. Name is Dick Cartwright. I live on top of Cooper Mountain. And your big reservoir interests me a lot on there's 2 big ones up there. One at the turnabout on 175th and the other down on Grabhorn. And I wonder about the safety of that big one. I do a lot of work with the SEALs, the Air Force Theater, rangers and some of our ops teams. There are a lot of weapons that put a bullet through that. I just wonder what kind of safety practices have gone into, as far as especially the one that's got so much cement up out of the ground on Grabhorn Road. The other one at the roundabout up there is pretty vulnerable too, but not like that one. And that's probably one of the biggest reservoirs. The other thing I wonder about is with Tina Kotek putting our fuel prices up 6 cents a gallon or something like that to everybody. I don't know if that's passed yet or not. How does that affect people like our utilities and so forth when they're going to run 8, as I understand, 8 1,300 horsepower pumps to pump into this 5.5-foot pipe out of the Willamette River up to these water sources. That's a question. If the rate of fuel goes up, running generators that big and pumps that big, I assume that's got to affect our price tag of water bills. I'm curious. Is there an answer for that or no? I'm worried about somebody putting a bullet through that tank because there are bullets that'll go through that tank. I'll guarantee you.
We can have staff look into those questions.
Pardon?
We can have staff look into those very specific questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Would anybody else like to comment in the room this evening? I'll make sure to get everybody's contact information before they leave. Okay, going once, twice in the room. Okay. Thank you very much. We will move to the virtual meeting. I do see we have some hands raised, and I'm going to call on Deanna Johnson. Deanna, if you would unmute your microphone, it looks like you're unmuted, and you can go ahead and give your public testimony. You have 5 minutes.
Excellent. Yes, this is Deanna Johnson. I've been a resident of Beaverton for the last 23 years. I've also have copies of my Tualatin Valley water bill, clean water bills for the last 22 years, which, I've seen, as everyone else has seen, go from like $77 bi-monthly to a couple $100 bi-monthly. One thing that I've noticed over the past couple of years, I've had to step in for my parents and some relatives in Multnomah County, City of Portland Water. I've noticed that their financial assistance program actually starts at 30%. It's a 30 to 60% discount off of water based on your income. It's like a tier 1, 60% for households earning up to 30%. And then a tier 2 is a 30% discount for households earning up to 60%. And I know I'm very thankful for that 20% discount that we got last year. But as I told the Washington County Board of Commissioners when Clean Water Services wanted to raise our rates, I said, look, please don't pull that same stunt that Tualatin Valley pulled with raising our rates 20% and then giving us a 20% discount, a couple months later. I was like, I'm basically paying the same amount that I was paying in May of 2024 in 2025. So I'm not seeing a huge difference on my bill personally. I would love to see the financial assistance program for Tualatin Valley improved. I know that Washington County Board of Commissioners will be speaking with Clean Water Services, I think next month, about the fact they don't have one. But I would like to see that potentially increase for the residents of Beaverton and who are using Tualatin Valley water. Secondly, the PowerPoints. I noticed on the PowerPoints, you guys like to use a lot of the 8-inch water or 5/8-inch water. I mean, I literally just wrapped my head around the last couple of years around CCFs. So when these PowerPoints are presented, I'd love to have in parentheses how many CCFs that 5/8 of inches of water actually equates, so I can wrap my head around it. And then also the presentation, I noticed that he did it in monthly. I know the costs look a lot lower, but we all see our bills, or maybe the majority of us see our bills on a bi-monthly basis. So I'd like to see the PowerPoint presentation represent a bi-monthly amount. So again, we can wrap our heads around what we're actually seeing and how we're going to be impacted. I think that's it for right about now. I heed my time, and I thank you all for your allowing me to speak today.
Thank you, Deanna. Next, it looks like we have Chrissy with her hand raised. Chrissy, you have 5 minutes and you can start when you're ready.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Chrissy Rowan. I just, I understand that it takes a lot of money to operate. I just wanted to make a plea that even though you're just saying it's going to be like $3 more, per month, that in the grand scheme of things, that seems like not, a whole bunch of money. Like, oh, families can do that. Well, we're seeing $3 like being added to everything in our lives, or more. In all areas of our lives, prices are going up, and my wages didn't go up, and I'm really budgeting really well, and I have to tell you that my water bill is what puts me in a very stressful position when I'm paying it every 2 months. And I just am right a tad above what community action can help me with, like just above the cusp of the income. And I have to tell you, I don't make a whole bunch of money, and it's really tough paying my water bill. And so when we're seeing increases all over our bills, utilities and everything else, it all adds up. And I don't want my water to go up, period. And I just think that I don't understand, and I know this is a complicated like idea of what the district provides and all the inner workings of it, but I just don't understand why our CCF rates are so much higher than, the city of Portland, Beaverton, Salem, like down in Northern California and Washington. I mean, we're like significantly higher than all of those. And I'm sure, there's a definite reason, but I did pick up that like there's a lot of debt within this organization. And I'm just wondering if it's being handled well, if the customers are like taking on the burden of maybe some mismanagement in the past. I'm not quite sure. I can't speak on that, but I don't know. I'm just concerned about that a little bit. But as a single mom who's scraping by, $3 doesn't seem like a lot to you guys in the board, but it is to me. Every single dollar I have allocated, and I'm still in the negative. So I would appreciate if you guys understand that this is just not something that I can support this time. Thank you for listening to me. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Chrissy. I'm not seeing any additional comments online, and I'm not seeing any. I will leave that up to the board to decide.
Yeah, please feel free to share. Thank you.
Thank you. This is Rob Heisner again. I just, after hearing more testimony from other folks, I did want to point out, this was something I meant to bring up in my last part, but I forgot. And, I did have a chance to look up the mission of this organization, Tualatin Valley Water District. And I found that online, and it's nice. It's very nice. It's to provide reliable, resilient, and safe water to customers. But there's something very important missing from this mission that I think you're gathering from the testimony today, and that's affordable. We need affordability in your mission. We're standing apart from the population at large here. We need, can you put that in your mission that you're going to hold yourself accountable to affordable water, basic human necessity going forward? Can you do that? That's my ask. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I would politely ask any commenters to please see me before they leave so we can get all of your information. I have a public comment card. It'll just take a moment to fill out. Thank you. And I'm going to throw it back to Commissioner Lysak now.
Thank you, Sam. As a reminder, the public comment period is open until 4 p.m. on September 24th. The board will consider taking action on the draft proposed resolution at the October 15th board meeting. Thank you to everybody for the testimony and comments. We will now continue with the regular meeting of the board. Reports by the Chief Executive Officer and management staff.
Good evening, commissioners, and good evening, members of the public. First, I want to apologize for the air conditioning. It went out earlier this week, and so I apologize for the warm air that we have, but I appreciate you coming here tonight. Just a few quick announcements from the CEO. First, I want to highlight that our finance department earned the GFOA Award for Financial Reporting. This is the 35th year that we've done that. So it might seem like a routine award, but it's really important to our finance group. We submit our ACFR, the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, to anonymous reviewers in other parts of the country. They review that and they give us feedback that we can then incorporate into our continuous improvement cycle on the financial reporting. So congratulations, Justin and his team, for yet again producing an ACFR that meets that standard. And we look forward to getting the comments and incorporating them in the future. Quick update on the city of Portland. So we have a fully executed agreement with the city of Portland to provide temporary water to the district should there be any delay in the delivery of the Willamette Water Supply System treatment plant. That's not the end of it for us. We're still working with Portland on a couple of issues. One is we have a small number of City of Portland customers that we serve that we wheel water to now, but once we move to the Willamette, we'll have to have a different arrangement with Portland to continue to serve those customers. And we also are dedicated to working with Portland to have an emergency backup so we can serve each other in the event that there's any interruption in water source. Last item that I want to mention is that I will be actually out of the office on October 1st to the 3rd. Justin Carlton will be acting in capacity for the CEO during that period of time. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Dave Kraska, who's going to deliver tonight's director's report.
Mike still on? Good. Yes. Good evening, commissioners and public. Thank you for showing up. My name is Dave Kraska. I'm the director of the Willamette Water Supply Program. So this director's report is to provide a summary update of some of the things that we're working on the program. So let's go ahead and get into it. So there's a lot of activities we still have going on the program, even though we're essentially in about our last year of running the program. There's two main projects that we're winding down. Our PLM 1.3 project, our pipeline in Wilsonville, is wrapping up in the next coming months. And our water treatment plant project, our last big project to finish in Sherwood there, will wrap up in the next year. Then we're winding down a number of other projects that we're seeing all the way through, our raw water facility project and the remaining other pipeline projects that are still active at this time. We oversaw completion of the repairs of the work at Francis and Corn Pass, and we're managing a number of other related activities associated with that action. We are continuing planning the WWSP staff transitions and the remaining program management services, schedule, budget, invoicing, risk management, permits and mitigation monitoring, communications, outreach, and safety. Progressing planning in numerous areas, commissioning and startup, operations planning for when we're in operations about a year from now, and water supply integration. One of the topics I want to talk about now, or for the balance of my director's report, is related to commissioning and startup, and it's one of the temporary facilities that we're constructing on the Tualatin River. So as a reminder, what are our commissioning and startup activities? So this brand new water supply for our area is, again, bringing water from the Willamette River up to Sherwood, where we have our new water treatment plant, and then our transmission mains up to our service area. And also, as we've talked about tonight, the service areas of Hillsborough and Beaverton. We have two different contractors working on this work. Our contractor, Sunt, who's building our water treatment plant, is responsible for everything in Sherwood to the south. And then Emery and Sons is a separate contractor responsible for commissioning and startup of our transmissions facilities to the north of the water treatment plant, so all of our drinking water. That system looks like this. So basically on the right hand or on the left hand side here, it starts at the water treatment plant in Sherwood, and the different colored lines there represent our transmission mains, or 66-inch primarily welded steel pipelines. So with the work that we're doing on right now for commissioning and startup this brand new water supplies, planning, permitting, design are essentially complete. We had to do some tree clearing in the area where we're actually building this temporary facility. The temporary discharge facility is under construction, and we've conducted some recent site visits with Tualatin River Keepers and the city of Tigard because both are interested in our activities down there. So I apologize, I'm going to show you some engineering drawings, which don't work great on PowerPoint, but for lack of more clearer drawings. So to describe a little bit in words what's being shown on this, on the right-hand side of this graphic is Roy Rogers Road. So the activity that we're talking about right here is actually being constructed in what was termed, what we always call it, the old Azalea Farm. So right across from Al's Garden Center. That's the part of the world that we're working in right now. So essentially, for the benefit of the community that's joining us here tonight, since we're building a brand new water supply system, we have to go through this process of bringing water through it for the first time. And it's over 20 miles from the water treatment plant. And we want to verify that before it gets into our drinking water system, that it's actually the quality remains what we want it to be before we allow it to come in. Because our pipelines are lined with cement mortar, we expect the pH initially to rise as it flows through these pipelines. And so we got to go through this cleaning process essentially for a period of time where we're producing water, essentially discharging it to the environment in a safe and permitted way before we then deliver the water into our distribution system. So that's what when I talk about commissioning and startup of our service, of our finished water system, that's what we're talking about here. So when I talk about discharging the water from this process in a safe and environmentally protected way, and a way that we're able to get permits from Clean Water Services, we're building this facility here, which is a temporary facility. So at Roy Rogers Road, what you see here, the horizontal lines across this drawing here is our temporary pipeline. So it's a temporary 24-inch pipeline that goes to the west towards the Tualatin River. Show you another drawing here where we see that pipeline continuing from the right to the left. And the circle area area there is basically a treatment facility. So essentially what we're anticipating with this water is going to be higher in pH, and it's going to have chlorine in it, which we can't discharge to the Tualatin River. So we're going to do everything that we have to do to treat the water before we discharge it, because then the pipeline continues down towards the left there to a discharge facility into the Tualatin River. When we're discharging this water, we don't want it to upset the environment down there. So we have to do not only treat the water for water quality, but also for the energy. It's going to come out of there with a lot of energy, so we have to dissipate that energy so that it's safe to discharge into the Tualatin River. That's all that we're constructing there. This is a little bit of a close-up there. Again, you see that this is what we call a plan on the top and a profile on the bottom. So the plan is more of that pipeline and our energy dissipator that I've got a couple of photos for you coming up here in a second. And then the profile of our pipeline shows that it gets pretty steep. That what you can't read on this drawing, the profile of it is about a 5 or 6 or 7% gradient. When we get down close to the river, it's closer to a 22% gradient. Tigard, just for information purposes, in the future wants to build a park here and wants to build a boat ramp here so that people can access the river and enjoy it. And so we're working with them that whatever we build here, we're going to have to take out, but we're also going to facilitate it so that in the future, when Tigard wants to do that, they can do that. This is a little bit closer up of our energy dissipator. Again, our pipeline, a temporary pipeline coming from the right, going toward the left. The hatching pattern that you see there is part of our energy dissipator. It's riprap, which is rocks or boulders about this size to, again, have the water cascade. And there's a square facility there, structure there that we call our energy dissipator. It's a precast concrete structure that looks like this. If you look in the upper right there, you see our pipeline, our 24-inch pipeline coming in there. the water is going to impact against a barrier there and then cascade over this into the rocks. And then one more feature of this that's really important is our turbidity barrier. So as we're discharging this water into the river, we're going to generate some turbidity. And so our permit requires us to have a turbidity barrier in the water to basically contain that so it's not discharged into the Tualatin River that would affect the aquatic organisms there. A couple of photos to show you. This is our 24-inch pipeline. The pipeline is just staged there. The type of material that we're using for this temporary pipeline is called high-density polyethylene. So it's a very tough plastic pipe, and it's perfect for this type of operation. This is an image of the temporary road, the access road that we've constructed leading down towards the Tualatin River. And if we approach closely to the Tualatin River, there you can see the riprap, so all the rock material that the water will flow over to release the energy before it flows into the Tualatin River at that place. If you just look beyond the riprap, beyond the orange exclusion fencing there, you see some yellow pontoons or yellow floats. That's our turbidity barrier that's being floated into the water to protect the turbidity from going beyond that area. So it's fun to tell you all about that. Hopefully it was informative, but I'd be glad to take any questions at this time if there are any. Oh, so the question was, could you use any of that energy and turn it into power? It would be a cost benefit ratio that we would be looking at. And as I've done those in the past, the amount of money to employ the equipment to capture the energy, this is only going to be an operation for maybe a couple of months. We would never get the return on that investment. So it's a great idea, but why we didn't employ it here. I'll share your question with the board. So I think that's maybe a question for follow-up. The question was, with all the rain that occurs in the area, how come it can't be captured? And instead of sending it off to the Pacific and maybe reduce costs, but that would be something the district could follow up. Any further questions? Great. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. And before I conclude the CEO announcements, I would ask, first of all, thank you for coming tonight. But if you have specific questions, make sure that you can get with Sam so we know how to contact you and the questions that you would like to have answers. We'll do the best that we can to get back to you quickly. So please, before you leave tonight, if you could make sure Sam has your contact information and your question. With that, that concludes the CEO announcements tonight.
The commissioners will now report on recent meetings attended. Commissioner Doan?
Today's board meeting, I had a meeting with Carl Fisher on the 16th to look over the agenda for today's meeting. And on the 15th, I had a meeting with Paul to talk about forthcoming issues.
Thank you. Commissioner Duggan?
Thank you. On September 4th, there was a special meeting of the Willamette Water Supply System Board where we considered approving financial arrangements for a contract change order. On the 8th of September, I attended the Washington County Public Affairs Forum where a Representative Haifam from I believe it's House District 38 came and talked about the legislative sessions from this year. On the 9th, and on the 10th, I attended the Talking Water webinar that was given concerning our rates. On the 10th, I attended the Regional Water Providers Consortium Executive Committee, where we considered budget concepts. And for the regional program, they're looking for a budget neutral proposal where there would be no rate increases or dues increases for the coming biennium. And on the 11th, I had a meeting with Paul Matthews, and then tonight's meeting.
Thank you. On the 9th, I had a touch base with CEO Matthews, and I attended tonight's meeting. Do we have any other topics to be raised by the commissioners? Right. Public comment time is set aside for persons wishing to address the board on items on the consent agenda and matters not on the agenda. Additional public comment will be invited on agenda items as they are presented. Do we have any persons who would like to comment?
So I'm going to start in the room. Is there anybody that would like to give a public comment this evening that has not spoken so far? Okay, I do see a new attendee has joined us online, Suzanne. Suzanne, if you do wish to submit a public comment, now's the time. I'll give you a moment to unmute your microphone, and if not, that's okay too. Okay, I'm not seeing any public comment at this time.
Consent agenda items are considered to be routine and may be enacted in one motion without separate discussion. Any board members may request that an item be removed by motion for discussion and separate action. Any items requested to be removed from the consent agenda for separate discussion will be considered immediately after the board has approved those items which do not require discussion. Do I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented?
This is Commissioner Doan. So moved.
It's Commissioner Duggan, second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The same? The motion passes. I will now close the regular session and the board will convene in executive session. Will the district recorder please read the executive session script?
Certainly. An executive session of the board is called under ORS 192.6602H to consult with counsel concerning the legal rights and duties of a public body with regard to current litigation or litigation likely to be filed. So for members of the audience, we are essentially finished with the regular business portion of this meeting. The board will go into another room and meet in executive session. We will convene this regular meeting essentially to close it out. There's no other items at this time. So you are free to stay if you'd like. You're also free to leave. But if you do leave, I would love to get your contact information if you left a public comment. So please come see me before you leave. That's all.
Like almost.
Warm in here.
Commissioner Duggan, the executive session meeting is a separate invite. Just wanted to make sure you were aware of that.
Okay, if we can just gather real quick to adjourn the meeting, that would be much appreciated. Oh, I guess you don't have to do anything. It's okay. It's okay. Commissioner Lysick, do you want to just pound the gavel and
We will now return to regular session and adjourn the regular board meeting.
thank you very much.
All right.